Hello, everyone, and welcome back to What the Frick podcast. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, one of my best friends from college, Christopher.
Best friends, huh?
I would say so.
All right, that's fair.
Are we not?
No, I see you more as like an acquaintance.
Just an acquaintance. Oh, well, one of my best acquaintances from college.
That's
then.
fair. That's fair.
All right, so I kind of wanted to start off by talking about how we met, because when I first met Chris, I kind of thought he was a psychopath. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because I didn't know you at all, and you were like, let's go take shots.
Okay, well, first of all, it wasn't just like let's just go take shots. It was your 21st birthday, and a big thing for me is that I would want someone to do something that I would want for myself, right? So I was like, you don't know many people that are 21. There's a handful of crew people. Shout out Zona Zoo crew.
Shout out.
That we're 21, so we just figured that we'd take you out. And did you not have a good time?
I had a great time, and I think it worked out because like all of my friends weren't 21 yet, because I was one of the older people for my age. So when you were like, it's your birthday this weekend, and I was like, yeah, you're like, okay, well, we're going out, like, be here, time, place.
I think I picked you up.
You probably did.
Yeah, I think I picked you up, and then I think Sierra and Cenas brought like Jello shots.
Oh, so nice of her. Shout out Sierra.
We're just gonna be shouting out people periodically throughout the pod.
If you were a part of the University of Arizona, you may make a featurette in this episode. But yeah, I think I was just thrown off guard because I was pretty shy. Would you not say when you first met me?
You're pretty timid.
Yeah, and you're this very loud, boisterous, outgoing personality, and you're just like, we're going out, and I'm like, I don't even know you, and you're like, what do you mean? We just met, and I'm like, I guess so.
Well, here's the thing: like, if I would have asked instead of told you, would you have said yes? Exactly. Your pause tells me enough. I already need to know.
It was fun though, because I think it was you, me, and like 6 other random people that I didn't know very well.
I think
either.
Julian was there, Sierra was there, Jellica was there. I can distinctly remember the picture that we took with your sash, because I think one of the girls bought you a sash, and then you're sitting on the tire swing. I distinctly remember that.
Yeah, no, it was fun. I think that was the first time I had ever been to a bar down in Tucson.
Legally.
So. Actually, no, just in total, because I never had a fake ID, because I was like, I don't really need one. Like, none of my friends are 21 yet, and I turned 21 pretty, like, going into sophomore year, so.
It was literally September, I think, when we, like, had the first meeting or whatnot. So, yeah, it was pretty damn early in the year.
Yeah, and you've been going out to the bars for a while, because I always forget how old you are. Like, I know you're, like, super old, but you were a 5th year at the time, right?
No, that was my senior year. We're only like 2 years apart.
We are?
Yeah.
Why did I think you were like 27?
No, I think that was
you are 27.
Yeah. So that would have been what, the fall of 2017?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was, I had not even been going out a full year yet.
You had not been going out a full year yet, and you were already on that level.
What was it actually 2017 or?
I don't know. I think I joined going into my...
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. No, it was 2017. It was
Everything's
2017. A blur. No, yeah, I hadn't even been going out for a year yet, because I had turned 21 in February. No one's gonna believe if I have a fake. I looked like I was 16.
Yeah.
If not,
Got that
younger.
baby face.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing to look young.
Only at buffets when you're a kid and you're trying to get the kids rate, I guess.
Well, I mean, you definitely acted like you were a local bar hopper. I don't think there was ever a time throughout my college experience where I didn't see you with a drink in your hand, unless we were at a school sanctioned event where it was not allowed.
Yeah, contrary to popular belief, I was probably the only person not drinking when we were at school sanctioned events. So I can be proud of that, I think.
I wasn't either. I remember there were a lot of other people that did get in trouble for stuff like that, but
It's very noticeable. It's very
yeah.
noticeable.
I feel like you were also one of like the leaders, being like one of the older like people in the groups. People kind of like looked to see what you were doing and how you behaved, and I think that was one of the reasons why I was like, nah, I'll just wait till after the game.
Yeah, if Chris is not doing this, then yeah, I probably shouldn't be doing it.
That's a good way to live. If Chris is not up to this, then no one should be up to this.
Beforehand, that previous spring semester, for the most part of it, I was not 21, so everyone's pregame would be my game per se. So I would go to these pregames, have a good time, and then go to sleep at a reasonable hour. And then once I turned 21, it was just every other night was specific days or specific places and whatnot. So I was just trying to have a good time because I felt like I really didn't have that college experience up until I was 21. So I was kind of behind the 8 ball. So
Right.
I was just trying to catch up for lost time.
Did you party ever in high school, or did you kind of wait until you hit college to start the drinking phase?
I definitely was that kid who would not drink. I didn't see the amusement in it at that point in time, and obviously nothing gets really past my parents, so I wasn't really trying to be about that. I would go to these parties and just give people rides home and that kind of thing. I remember distinctly I'll be in the locker room after our basketball game and everyone's trying to figure out where they're going out and everything like that, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna go practice there.
Well, that makes sense because, I mean, I feel like a lot of people, when they don't get like a little bit out of them in high school, tend to almost overcompensate.
I
Once
definitely
go
have
to
thought that. I
college.
definitely have thought that more than a couple times. And
But I mean, you never like partied excessively to the point where it was like you got to go get your stomach pumped. Like you were always fine.
no. There's a saying. Me and my buddy Lucas back home. Shout out Lucas.
Shout out Lucas.
You don't. You don't have to shout him out after I've already shouted him
I
out.
want to shout
No,
everyone out.
no,
I know
no.
him too.
No. It's like, oh, who are we going out with? And it was like, oh, this person. Okay, cool. This person, cool. It's like, should we invite this person? And we just go, she's a liability. Can't have liabilities. People we gotta take care of, or people that cause trouble, that kind of thing. We just want good vibes. So
It's true. I mean, our school was filled with a lot of liabilities, so you really had to pick and choose who you went out
I feel like
with.
a lot of people were just liabilities by default because it's college, but there are still people to this day, grown ass people, that are liabilities, and I won't stand for it.
Well, I do remember one time, and we can cut this out if you don't want it in, but we were in the parking lot of Maloney's, and I look over, and you're like, just give me a minute, like I need to throw up real quick, and you're like fingering your mouth, like trying to make yourself throw up. It was like the most casual thing. You're like, I just need like 2 minutes, like give me. I'm like, maybe you should go home.
No, let me also say for the record, I did not put any sort of my body parts into my mouth. I distinctly remember I had a little bit too much, and I thought to myself, wow, it'd be really slick of me if I go hid behind these cars and, pull the trigger really quick and then get in line. Unbeknownst to me, the security guards saw me, and
We did.
they did. And they came over to me. They're like, hey, bro, you got to go. We just saw you throwing up. And me being, at that point in time, I still think I am pretty quick on my feet. I basically told them, oh, no, bro, I was sitting in the middle back seat of an Uber, and he was driving like crazy. I get really motion sick. So yeah, it was just like I'm responsible for all these people getting home. Like, I'm not drinking tonight.
They believed you?
They were so apologetic, and they let me back in line.
Well, yeah, because I remember you were never like, you could pull off pretty much anything. Like you could be pretty much blacked out, and you could pull off being sober if you really had to. Like
I don't think I can count maybe on like one hand how many times I've blacked out in my life. And that honest to God. Because unlike other people, you kind of understand what your capabilities are, right? And then
oh yeah, I've never fully blacked out from drinking ever because I'm too afraid of like someone hurting me or like taking advantage of me. Or the moment I start to feel dizzy, I'm like, someone's got to take me home. You've done that before. But
Yeah, I definitely have probably grabbed you a slice of pizza beforehand and everything like that. See, you're not a liability, so you pass the vibe check.
No, and I think, was this my 22nd? I don't remember which birthday this was. Maybe it was, I don't know, I think it was actually still my 21st birthday, but we went out again like a few days later.
I'm not surprised.
Only this time, only this time my friends decided to like poison me by throwing every alcohol we had at the pregame into a cup and just giving it to me and hoping that I wouldn't notice because I was so distracted. And after being out for like an hour, I did not feel well. And I remember you were with me. You were in the Uber with me. I got out of the Uber. I made it in. And you just like walked me into my room and you were like, all right, time for bed. And you just left me there. And I was like, that's a good friend.
I think I definitely went back out probably.
Oh, you definitely did.
Yeah.
I
no.
wouldn't blame you.
No, yeah,
The night was still young.
That's my thing, get to bed, make sure that you're all good. All right. Have a good night.
That's what we love to see. Well, let's transition to, how do we phrase this? Obviously, it's clear you're very outgoing and fun, but there's more to you than just this crazy party Chris. Like, you have a lot more depth, I would say, and not a lot of people, I think, got to see that side of you in college. This is like my honest to God, like,
It's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to
not
me.
just making this up.
I'm taken aback.
Like, I think everyone saw you as like a very fun guy who they could count on to like go get them a drink or like pick them up for the bar, just like lift up their morale. But like not a lot of people saw the more like emotional, like deep sides of you. And I feel like I got to see that as I, obviously got to know you better, as most friendships work. But I kind of want to ask you, like, your experience through college, because you said, you didn't drink a lot in high school, and then you get to college, you're at a school known for partying and getting crazy. Yeah. And just kind of like, I guess we'll get into how you are now and how you feel about it. But just, I guess, start us off by...
when I got to college and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think a lot of people know this about me, but I, quote unquote, dropped out of U of A after my first semester. Did you know that?
I remember you telling me once, but like not in detail.
I was really excited, get out of the house, start that, college life that everyone always talks about, that obligatory college life, right? A big part of the reason why I went to U of A was actually because of my grandparents, because they lived so close, spend extra time with them and whatnot. So I don't know why I don't regret it, but at that point in time, I just told myself, oh, this would be great. I'll live with my grandparents, save money in housing. Who would want to live in a dorm? And that would be my life, right? And it ended up being a super nomadic life in the sense that whether it's school, work, anything like that, you have to depend on other people, right? I'm not the smartest guy in the world. You have to depend on other people, whether it be for like schoolwork or anything else, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm bouncing from my cousin's house, sleeping there a couple nights, bouncing to, somebody's like one of the two friends I had in like outside of my family, hang out in their dorm or whatnot. And it became very, very tiring, 30 minutes each way. So I definitely think that I went into a state where I was alone a lot of the time, where I wasn't very accustomed to that. So I wouldn't say I was like in a depression, but definitely like a very depressive state where I was alone a lot, at my grandparents' house. And I just was very envious of all my other friends and their college experience and everything like that. So that kind of made me take a step back, go home for a little bit. And I think I learned a lot about myself during my year home.
Well, it's weird to hear you say you like didn't want to live in the dorms. Like, I mean, the dorms aren't the funnest, but
no, that's literally how you meet people.
But like, you're such a social person that I would think that would have almost been like super exciting for you to be like, yeah, I'm gonna be in a dorm surrounded by a bunch of people. But like, were you not always this confident, like, outgoing guy? Like, were you more timid going into college, and that's why you kind of wanted that more separate life at first?
I think I'm very selective of when I want to be timid or, on like a more like low energy side compared to when I'm like more outgoing. Obviously not knowing anybody, and going into a new place, that was definitely a little bit out of my comfort zone. Looking back at it, there are definitely things that I could have done differently or whatnot, but all in all, the way that my life transitioned and everything that I learned through that whole period, I don't think I'd change a thing.
So how long were you home for when you decided to kind of give it some
Initially, it
time?
was supposed to be only a semester, because at that point, I had no clue what I was going to be doing in college. So I was just taking classes at my junior college, and there was a huge stigma around the specific junior college that I went to. It's basically like, oh, if you go there, you're not gonna make it out, or blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not gonna lie to you, like I went into it super, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Like went into it like with a huge ego, knowing that I was like, oh, like I'm from a 4-year school. I'm just here, to take a couple classes. And I got very humbled very quickly after I got to know these, because at my junior college, it's like high school where every class is like 30 kids, right? So you get to really know everyone, get to know their lives and everything like that. And I got to know so many cool people from so many different backgrounds. That was a big turning point in my life in terms of just not thinking that you're better than people. And it's weird because I never thought that way in any other point in my life, but I just thought it was like, oh, this is a weird flex. Like, I'm from a 4-year school, and yeah, and I'm going to go back. But it ended up being a full year, so 2 semesters, because I couldn't get some of the classes I wanted. But looking back, I saved my parents a good chunk of money.
So that's why you did a 5th year, right?
I
at U
did.
of A?
I could have cranked it out in 4, but I was like, at the time my girlfriend was still in school. All my friends are still here. Why am I rushing to live, an adult life when that last semester would have been hell if I would have decided to. It's just made it so I could just spread everything out more evenly and whatnot. So it worked out in that way.
So at what point did you decide you were done with the junior college life and you were ready to go back to that distinguished 4-year university life?
Oh yeah, the distinguished University of Arizona. Actually, people give U of A a bad rap. There's a lot of research and a lot of great things that come out of U of A.
It's a good school. It's the Harvard of the West.
See, this is my thing. It doesn't matter where you go to school. If you go to school with the right intentions and everything like that, you can make it anywhere you want to go. It doesn't matter if you go to a school with 10,000 kids or a million kids like U of A is. But so during my second semester there, I was still kind of on the track that I was like, I'm going to be an engineer like the rest of my family. And I'm taking all these crazy, physics and like Calc 2 classes. And I say crazy for me. Other people would be a walk in the park. But
I couldn't do that.
and I took a good look at myself like halfway through the semester. And I said, I don't want to do this. I think I want to go to business school. So my dad is the kind of person where you definitely have to be a very good planner, and if you don't have a plan going into something and you just wing it, it's not a recipe for success. Me, I kind of like to wing things to an extent, but when it comes to investing thousands of dollars and moving away again, plus having already had left, he was very, very skeptical about it. So I basically took it into my own hands. I did my own research, figured out like what I needed in terms of classes and whatnot. I literally got out of class, went to his office where he works, and he works for an engineering company. So, there's a security checkpoint and everything, places I can't go and whatnot. And I told the security guard at the front, I was like, yo, go get my dad. I need to go talk to him. I pulled this man into a conference room, and I at that time, Prezi was the new and big thing.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was like what all the
with
sororities used.
the cool transitions and everything like that. I remember using it in senior year for our senior project, and like you can only do so many people in one day because it was only an English class. I remember once I went in like the dead middle, and I was the first person that did a Prezi. No one else that did a Prezi. Everyone did like a boring ass PowerPoint, and then magically every person for the weeks to come that were after me, Prezi.
Trendsetter.
Yeah, I am a trendsetter. Yeah, Prezi should just sponsor me. No, I did a whole Prezi basically outlining every single semester. This is what I need. This is what I'm going to do. Like, these are the classes I need to take, et cetera, et cetera. I told him I wanted to live in a dorm, and he was down for it because I actually had a plan. So it worked out in my favor. And then I also told him, by the way, I've also been going to the golf range with my friends instead of going to my night physics class. So I need to drop half my classes because I'm not taking them anymore. So I basically was just taking gen eds, and that would fulfill, those prereqs and whatnot and all those filler classes. So,
well, I think it's really hard because you think you're going to go to college and just make all these instant friends because everyone's the same age, kind of similar type interest, but actually it can be some of the times where you feel most alone. And if you're not that person that's surrounded by friends or people you're kind of like, why am I not that person? So at what point did you finally kind of feel like you were finally kind of growing into that college lifestyle that you like dreamed after?
Well, when I was in the dorms, I still had like a couple of friends from the dorms, everything like that. Mind you, like it's a little bit harder because everyone knows everyone, each other already from fall semester, the way I looked at it. But it took till, and I would go out with them from time to time and whatnot. They would have to convince me really hard because I just wanted to go to my grandparents' house and have my own room. But no, I think my college life started the week. It was one of like the last weeks of school, and a friend of mine from back home who's at U of A, he told me I should join a club or an organization. He's like, you should try to gun for Zona Zoo Crew. I think that's kind of right up your alley. You love sports, and I would say that is probably top 3 like best decisions I ever made in my life.
I would agree. I did the same, and I would not be where I am today without that place. I mean, career-wise and friendship-wise.
Yeah, I look back at a lot of things that happened in my life, and it kind of all stems back from Zona Zoo. Like, I think this is way down the line, but I look at, who's going to be my best man and my groomsmen, like when I eventually get married, probably 80% Zona Zoo Crew people. The career I got into is someone that, from Zona Zoo Crew that told me I should, look into this. The experiences I've had, I could probably also, it's not even that much of a reach, but I could probably also like stem Zona Zoo Crew for how I met my girlfriend at the time as well.
I think one of the reasons that you thrived so well in Zona Zoo, and also myself, is that our school was very heavily socially surrounded by Greek life. And in a way, Zona Zoo was like its own little like co-ed fraternity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it didn't have that like exclusivity factor of like having to look a certain way or dress a certain way. It was very much just like, oh, you like sports and you want to be social with like a very diverse group of people, like come on in. And like everyone was very welcoming. Like
everyone was from every sort of background you can imagine, right? But the one thing that we all have in common is that we have a love for the school and the sports organizations, right? So
yeah,
I think that's kind of cool that you can see that, where someone who you probably think that I would never be friends with this person, but they like sports. So
yeah,
in a simple way.
Some of my closest friends in my sorority probably wouldn't have been like, oh, it's your birthday, like I just met you, let's go out. But then it's like someone like you who I meet for 2 hours is like, oh my god, hell yeah, we're going out, like where do you want to go? And it's like, what? So it's just like it was so welcoming. And for me, being in both a sorority and my little co-ed fraternity, it was like really nice to be able to kind of go back and forth and get those different
you get the best of both worlds. You get tired of one, you go to the other.
I mean, there was a point in my life where I like only wanted to hang out with people from Zona Zoo because I was so like tired of the same topics of sorority life. So I mean, it was nice that I had both to go back and forth on, but I think a lot of my like really good friendships stemmed clearly from that club. So
yeah, I don't even know why I still talk to you. It's crazy.
I mean, we're here, aren't we? But anyways, I kind of cut you off, but get into what you were saying about the night. Because I remember you telling me like sort of once, but refresh my memory.
So there's, I won't say any names, but so there was supposed to be like this co-birthday party for two members in crew, and it was at the district. I think did you live there at one point?
I never lived there. No.
Okay, no, sorry. Shayna only likes the high risers.
The bougie
Yeah,
apartments.
the bougie ones. Yeah, so it was a, I'll say, is a little bit smaller. That has nothing to do with it, but so basically we're all good and ready for the party. The other birthday girl had came to show up to the party, so it was like, okay, we're all here, and I think that her boyfriend at the time had given her a very large Smirnoff Ice to take after they just had a whole ass dinner, and she may have, you know,
Thrown up.
yeah, her body fluids were not happy with her, so the whole apartment just smelled. It was bad. It was bad. So I got, and up to that point, we had pre-games at our place all the time because it was just a good, open area, easy to clean. So I just hit up my roommates and I was like, hey, can we just pull this party over to our spot? And then I guess, so my girlfriend at the time, she had come with another friend of a Zona Zoo crew person that was their birthday. So that's how we met. So indirectly, it kind of that works, right?
I think so. It was like the fates of this weird.
I don't think I would have. I
happening.
don't think I would have met her any other way. I look back at it sometimes, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't think I would have ever met her any other way.
So wait, at what point did you guys start dating? Like your sophomore year, junior year? I honestly forget.
That would have been my true senior year.
True senior year.
I say true senior year. I'm like, oh yeah, you act like I did like 6 years of school.
I kind of felt like it. I'm like, wait, Chris is still here.
You did only 4?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I can't relate.
Weird.
I guess I had more fun. I guess.
It's interesting though, because I also had a boyfriend for my senior year of college. Are we like twins? I'm just kind of realizing this now. Anyways, how do you think having or being in a relationship in college, but especially like your senior year, or for you, I guess, your junior year, however you want to call it. But how do you think having a significant other just affected your college life and how you saw yourself?
I think it made me want to be a better person, right?
That's beautiful, first of all.
Oh, shut up. No, I think it's cool when you get to, all, have your fun and everything like that and be with the boys or whatever it may be, but being able to like share those experiences and everything, whatever that entails, share that with someone else, that's special to me. And I think at that point she had just turned 21, so I was
so
like,
you were taking her out.
I was like, hey, me and my friends will take you out. So it kind of worked out that way.
So you don't feel like being in a relationship, because I know so many people who are like, I would never, date someone seriously in college. Like, I'm in college to have fun or to like hook up with people. But did you ever see it as like, this is going to hurt my college experience? Or were you only like happy to have this more serious thing come?
Never once did I regret that, because I don't think I had girls lining up at my door to begin with. But no, even if I did, I think there's just something a lot more special about having someone there, all the time, instead of 2 a.m, what are you doing? That kind of thing. So that maybe that's the emotional side of me. It's coming out.
That
It's
side.
it's coming out. It's coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so weird because I feel like our school, like there's those schools in the South and that it's like, what's it called? Like spring ring or something like that, where it's like so common that before you graduate college, you get engaged to the person you're with. It's like a huge thing in like the Southern schools. And at our school, that almost seems like a sin. Like you're in a relationship, like what? So it's interesting that like we were both able to kind of have both that, I guess, more normal experience and also like
Yeah.
experience a more serious side of it?
I think I said first of all, I thought you were going a completely different direction with that whole spring ring thing. But I think that just has to deal with like the culture and religion and whatnot, whatever it may be. I have no problem with it, but I think there's a lot of pressure from, outside people outside of your relationship. Oh, you got to get married, you got to start a family, that kind of thing. And I think over here in other states, I guess it's a lot more go with the flow, because I don't like to see life as that linear as much as I like it to be. I think that you of all people like could agree that I've had a pretty non-linear life.
Yeah.
And we're not even out of my we're still at like when I was like what 22. So there's like a whole 5 years that we like. So yeah, I think when you go through a life that everything doesn't go according to plan, like spring ring, land that job, you both move together to this different city, whatever it may be, get married, have kids, and everything like that. I think you miss out on a lot but also at the same time, maybe we're missing out on a lot. And maybe I think of this as like a coping mechanism, as like why, my life hasn't progressed the way that I would have liked it to be up until this point. But at the same time, when you go through more struggles or things that don't go according to plan and that kind of thing, I think when you do eventually get to that point, you can look back and think that is very fulfilling in that sense.
Yeah.
And that's not a bash on anyone that wants to get married in college. If you want to get married, by all means.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was your first like real serious girlfriend, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think you got to be like in such a, I guess, healthy mindset if you never had like, because I feel like most people go through either like trauma in a relationship and then they either come out stronger or way worse, but you kind of were just like almost like a virgin with like dating in terms of having like a real girlfriend. So do you think you just got lucky with finding someone compatible and, like you said, was almost like the same person as you, or were you just raised so well to know what to do?
Yeah, shout out mom and dad. No, let me preface by saying that I was a certified simp in high school. Certified simp. And you can literally ask any of my friends from high school, they'll tell you the same exact thing. I don't think like any sort of like intimate like relationship that I would want with someone was ever reciprocated. That's besides the point. I feel like that's for a lot of guys, but no, I think that's the as people like to say, like the hopeless romantic in me and that kind of stuff. But no, I think to your point, I think I did get very lucky. She was extremely patient with me, and at the same time, I was very much so like, this is my first girlfriend, I better do everything correctly and that kind of thing. So that's kind of the way I looked at it.
Well, that was a beautiful story. I feel like I just heard a poem of some sorts, but
Yeah, they should make a movie out of it.
oh my God, we could make a movie.
Absolutely not.
A little documentary about your life.
It'd be pretty boring, I think.
I think it'd be pretty interesting, actually. But I guess let's transition now, because something I've been dealing with and talking to some of my other friends about is just post-grad life and how difficult it can be coming out of college, where, you're surrounded by your friends, you had a girlfriend, and just now you transition to, maybe you can't party as much, and maybe you actually have to go to a job, and maybe you aren't allowed to see your girlfriend quite as often as you'd like to. So I guess just like, what was that like at first coming out of college with all of these, I guess, new responsibilities on your shoulder?
So I didn't get a job straight out of college. I think I was fun employed for a hot minute. Fun employed, right? No, I was fun employed for a hot minute. I moved back to LA for a little bit, but I always knew I wanted to move back for my girlfriend. So I moved back, had nothing lined up, and I was basically just going to interviews and just living with her and her roommates at the time. I didn't want to spend money on gym memberships, so I would hop around gym to gym and ask for like a week trial. But eventually, I feel like it's the same story with a lot of the older people at my company. Is like, oh, this person hit me up on LinkedIn and said like you should interview, and I always told myself like I would never go into a sales job because one, that has nothing to do with what I went to school for, and two, I just didn't want my income dependent on something else besides, I mean, obviously with like sales, right? If you focus up and do all you need to do, like you're obviously going to make a boat ton of money, but at the same time that like that mystery of like, oh, how much am I going to make this year? That kind of thing, never really appealed to me, even though it could be very lucrative. But I went for it anyways. And again, something that I don't regret, about to move into a different department at my company. I love everyone there. It feels like a little mini co-ed fraternity because there's a lot of people that are, older, but a lot of people that are our age or, even younger. So, I mean, and it took me to places I thought I'd never go to. I mean, I got to go to Pittsburgh for training. I spent like a whole week there. I claim Pittsburgh now. I love it there so much. I only spent a week there. I went to the Bahamas on an incentive trip. I got to go to the Phoenician here in Scottsdale. That was crazy. I think that, in the end, I made a good choice, especially being in Tucson still. I feel like I'm kind of cheating death because I know this is not for everybody, but, I feel like back then when I was graduating, it was like known, like you got to get out of Tucson, you got to go somewhere else, blah, 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 blah. But I think people just don't get to really appreciate just where they are in the moment, in the sense. I know you hate Tucson.
I don't hate Tucson.
No, but
I just like it here better.
Yeah. No, but I just think that it was a really, really easy transition in the sense that A, it was very affordable. B, you already know where you're living. And the most important thing that you were alluding to earlier was just still having that foundation of friends, not having to feel like immediately alone if you move off to a whole brand new state for a job or something like that. So in a sense, maybe that's just me not being too cool with change. But at the same time, it is what it is, and I've tried to make the best out of it, since I made that decision.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're thriving in terms of your career and just like feeling really settled in, like you said, you have a home base in Tucson now with friends and you've kind of worked your way up in your company. But I kind of want to, I guess, go back into that deeper side of you. And I'm like, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets. I guess because we're at such a weird age where it's like you're in like your mid 20s and like there are so many different people doing all these different things. Like some are married, some have kids, some are like unemployed or fun employed. It's like, what are some of the challenges either you faced or you're still facing in terms of just kind of like figuring out, I guess, not who you are, but almost like who you are or like what you want to do, or like has anything happened that you feel has really shaped like where you are now? It's kind of a loaded question, but I feel like I've just been having all these super deep thoughts.
Do you want to just ask it, or
No.
No, you can just ask it. It's elephant in the room. You might as well just ask it.
I don't want to. But I mean,
okay, well, okay.
Why don't you just explain?
Yeah, no, I'll just say without saying it. Big life change. Coming up actually on a year now. No longer in a relationship.
And how long were you together? Because I feel like that's important for people to understand.
I would say
it was over
four and some change.
It's almost 5 years.
Yeah, you can say in between 4 and 5, whatever it may be. This past year has definitely been an eventful year, to say the least. Comes in waves, I feel like, right? But just the way everything played out and whatnot. But I think that after it, you take your time to just sit in your mess and, try to figure out what the next move in your life is and whatnot. I had to really like dig deep to like figure out, who am I outside of, a relationship and that kind of thing. Right. So I kind of just went, head first into, naturally the first thing most guys do is the gym. Um,
Yeah,
not
because
that
it's like
not
you want to just get fit and like forget about it. It's like I feel like girls do that too. It's not just
Yeah,
guys.
no, that's true. No, that's it's a very just cop out answer, but no, it's true though. Eating healthier, drinking less, um, and then I did quite a bit of traveling. I think I've been to like 3 or 4 different cities in the past year that I'd never been to in my life. So being able to experience that and doing a lot of golf instead of therapy. I was like, I'm gonna spend money on golf instead of therapy. I think this would be a
Well,
good.
in a way, golf is therapy. It's like not everyone. I think it is important to like get your thoughts out, but I mean, it's not like you weren't talking about it with people. Like I got a lot of calls and texts from you, and I know you were talking to a lot of your other friends. It wasn't like you were just bottling that breakup up. Like you were talking about it in a healthy way while still, being progressive and like golfing, going out, like you said, eating healthy.
It gets to a point where I'm the type of person, and this comes a little bit probably more from my like timid side, is I don't want to be a burden on people, right? I get what I need to say out in a healthy way, like you mentioned, and then there's only a few specific people that I will just keep bombarding with my emotional self, I feel like. But for everyone else, it's they've done their part. You can't just keep letting people just you can't keep dragging people into your mess like with you. You know what I mean? So, and that's me being like too considerate. And if you ask any of them, they'll tell you like you should have kept talking to me or whatever it may be. But no, it gets to a point where it gets old. You become like a broken record, and everything happened. It sucked really bad, but that's life, right? So
Yeah, I agree and disagree with you. Like you don't want to be a burden on people, but like anyone that's truly your friend is like whether you talk about it once or 600 times, like I feel like every time you do talk about it, there's like a purpose. It's not like you're looking for the same answer. Like everything that came out of my mouth when I was going through a breakup, like I would have a new realization behind it, whether I was talking to you, my mom, like whoever. Like I was always looking for some other answer I hadn't reached yet. So while there is a time and place to kind of just cut that thought train off, because the more you think about it, it's harder to let it go of your mind. But there is like a time and a place where I do think it's okay. I mean, you were in a almost 5-year relationship. Like that's not just gonna disappear out of your head in like a week, yet alone a month, yet alone a year. Like it's not that easy.
yeah, no, I think a big part of it was just figuring out what to do now that you're in a way like alone, right? At that same time, a lot of my friends were moving away from Tucson. I still had my core group of friends and everything like that, but I think I almost wanted to just like exile myself off a lot, and even though I didn't want to, just sit alone and just be okay with being alone, that kind of thing, if that makes sense. So learning from that, I do appreciate a lot more. I mean, me, like I could probably be with a group of people or a friend or whatever it may be for a whole like straight week if I wanted to, but that's not that's like a quick fix. I feel like in that
It
point
is a quick fix.
in that point in time is a quick fix, right? But at the same time, you need to be able to sit with your own thoughts and get through it on your own, right? And on going on the other side of it, I actually appreciate my alone time a lot more now, whether it's an hour a day or whatever it may be, or a day during the week. I allocate that to myself because I appreciate that so much more. Whereas, whether it was college or straight out of school, whatever it may be, it's like I always had to be around people because being alone by myself, it's not it just wasn't enjoyable to me. But I became a lot more productive, in that time that I had by myself and whatnot. So
Yeah, actually, hearing you talk, I think we're very similar because I'm actually like a lot more shy and timid of a person than you are. But when I was like recently somewhat going through a breakup, I mean, nothing compared to you. I wasn't even dating this man. That's how That's how messed up I was. But like I immediately got on a flight a day, like literally 48 hours later. I was on a flight to see my friends, and like that was a quick fix. Being around other people who are going to talk about other things with you. But I was still constantly like calling my mom, calling people that I knew could kind of help me. And it took me almost like a month. And like for me, I hadn't been in a 5 year relationship. So I was kind of able to reach that point sooner of like, I'm going to cut this thought train off. But it is so important to, I think, learn how to be by yourself again. And I know with you, you were like constantly trying to like make plans with people or go somewhere. And it's at that point where you can finally sit in your own house and like, you know, order food by yourself and be like, I'm actually okay just how I am, that you've reached that point of like actually healing.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I think a lot too that has to do with like me being alone when I was back home in Tucson is that any possible chance I could get, I was running away up to here with my shout out V and Johnny. No, I literally would be at their house like every other weekend just to get away, or even during the week because I was working remote. Just not having to be at home, and the what's the word I'm looking for? Just like the obligatory, like, oh, like I drove past that place that reminds me of this, or like I'm doing this and it reminds me of that. No, I was just like, just get myself completely out of the environment, all like, in general. But once I kind of was able to just like look myself in the mirror and kind of just accept like what had happened, I made it a point to like, you got to stay in town, you got to like make plans with people. And sure enough, I had a really good support system of people that genuinely cared and loved me. Love, not a past tense. But
Current
yeah.
tense.
No, and then I got to the point where my cousin and her husband would be like, hey, like, you haven't been up in a while, like, are you okay, blah blah blah. I was like, no, it's just trying to get back into a more healthy routine of not just having to every single time like you feeling down just like run away or hop on a flight. Not to say that I didn't do that when I traveled, but that was for other purposes too, just to visit friends or see new cities and whatnot. So yeah.
Because it is so weird when you're with someone, and like for you, I can't even imagine. I've never been in a relationship that long, so I don't know. But I mean, even I was struggling, and I feel like an idiot because I was only not even dating this guy for like 4 months, and I was like, how
Your
do
feelings
I
are validated.
I know, but it's like, how do I get back into my routine before him? But it's like you were with somebody for like such a long time, and all of a sudden it's like taken away from you, and it's like you really have to rebuild your life without this person, and you almost forget like who you were before them or how you did things before them. And I think you should give yourself more credit, because it takes a lot of time to rebuild that. And it's like, it's been a year now, and from where I stand, you seem like you're in a much better place. So like, how are you feeling now in terms of, I guess, where you were almost like a little over a year ago when this happened?
I think it comes in waves, right? Just like anything that you go through, right? It comes in waves, whether it's like a death in the family or, traumatic experience or, or, plain old breakup. I think it just comes in waves, and you just figure out ways to deal with it as time goes on. You know what I mean? But God, I completely forgot what I was going to say. But no, I think that now I'd be lying if I didn't say like I was in a better place, right? But it's not that like it still doesn't hurt or anything, but I've built this life for myself this past year, whether it's like Tucson or here, back home in LA, whatever it may be, that I know what I'm doing every single day. And I think that's the keeping busy part. The moment like I'm finished working and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing tonight. That's when, those thoughts and everything like that can creep in. Right. But, also making sure like it's healthy things at the end of the day, right? Whether it's like spending time with your friends or just playing organized sports or things like that, or just plainly going to the gym or whatnot. I think that I've built up a very sound routine with people that I genuinely love and care about, that I would want for like the rest of my life. So it's made it a lot easier in that sense, because in those kind of things, right, it takes a village. You can't just, as much as people think that they can just go through those things on their own, you really can't. You have to have that support system, you know. So, and I think anyone would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have my mom literally yelling at me over the phone saying, you just got to get over this at one point. I was like, how dare you say this to me, mother? You're supposed to
Yeah.
be my rock and shut, like, whatever. But, like, it does take a village, and it's like you have to talk to those people. And I think it's good to have different perspectives. Like, someone like, for me, like, my mom is so rational, and she's going to tell me the truth, whether I'm in the right or the wrong. And then I have a friend who's going to be on my side regardless.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have that friend who can very easily see both sides. So I think getting all those different opinions kind of also helps formulate your mind and get you to that healthier place.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I think for both of us, or, for anyone out there, that, you have this image of how your life is going to go. And it kind of goes back to how I was saying, like, your life being, somewhat linear. And then sometimes, it works out for one person, it doesn't work out for the other person. Right. So, being able to like roll with those punches, because things I like to, I'm not trying to, air people's dirty laundry out, but, things could be worse. And that's just in general. That's not someone I'm like thinking about specifically. Like, things could have been worse. It is what it is. Like, I think it was funny because I had a buddy of mine who is a doctor in Miami. And he was visiting town, and he literally goes, he's one of those like tough love people. And he literally just went up to me, like, I'm like damn near on the verge of tears. And he just goes, well, there's a reason why there's a bunch of movies and TV shows about, and songs about, heartbreak and that kind of thing. It happens to people. Your problem is not unique in that sense. So, you're not special in that sense. So you might as well, like, get over it. Obviously, I'm making him sound a lot more harsh than he actually is.
That's so
I love him.
harsh.
Shout out Dr. C. Love you. No, but in a way, like, obviously at that point in time, and probably so now, like, I, to a degree, like, don't agree with that, because
I don't agree with it at all. I feel like, yes, you're not unique. Everyone's going to go through heartbreak, but like, it's unique to you. And like, you had never experienced that before. So obviously you're going to have a totally different feeling than someone who's maybe like 50 years old and has had like 3 wives leave them.
Yeah. I think that I think for me, I just, in that period of time, just wanted to learn more about myself, spend more time with people that I may have overlooked or maybe ignored because I was in this great relationship. I wanted to spend like every waking moment with her, right? So being able to like reconnect with people that I may have not been, or may have grown apart from in that sense, just remending those relationships. I think that, and just strengthening the friendships and relationships I already had, were really important to me, because I think a lot of my life always revolves around other people. But on the other side of it, something my cousin told me is that you need to be, and I quote, unapologetically yourself. And I looked at her, I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
That's beautiful.
But the way that I define that is that, you do everything in your life, whether it's just that you want to do it, or whether it's going to make you feel better, or whatever it may be, just live a genuine, authentic life. Don't try to be a fake or anything like that. Just live the life that you want to live. If you don't want to do that thing with that person, or stop stop wearing yourself so thin. Because I felt like I was just like bouncing around trying to like help other people, with their stuff, or make them happy, because I thought that a lot of my happiness stemmed from other people's happiness, and it still does. But at the same time, I had to kind of reallocate a lot of my energy to things that genuinely make me happy. It's like, oh, do I really want to go do that with that person, or do I really want to like stretch myself thin, or do I want to do this with this person that I like really really care about and I want to do this. So that's kind of like the way I've looked at it since. Shayna's thinking.
I'm thinking. There's just so many wise words coming out of your mouth. But I was going to say, just as someone who was there and saw you in this relationship to when it ended and you being in a horrible place all the way to now, it is nice to finally see like you kind of come full circle and be like that whole person again. But I think I just wanted to ask you, like, where do you see yourself? I guess whether it's a year from now or like 5 years from now. I kind of hate when people ask me that question. I'm like, I don't know. But like, I guess, what are your goals, just to kind of wrap this up, of like, where do you want to be, whether it's career wise, relationship wise, or none of that?
Let me start off by saying that I had made a lot of goals for myself, through this like past year, and I had to essentially like weed out what I was genuinely wanting to do, or what was, what would be the logical, practical thing to do next in that kind of sense. Is like, oh, maybe you should go back to school, get your master's, or hey, maybe you should, go to a different job or something like that, blah, 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 blah. But again, like, I don't think those are, like you were saying, like quick fixes. I don't think those are quick fixes, but at the same time, that's just a way of like, kind of like coping, I would say. But for me, I think that for once in my life, I'm not trying to like plan too far ahead. I think that I just want to just see where my life goes, like career wise, financially, friendship, relationship wise, everything of that nature. I don't want to like force anything in that sense, because at the end of the day, whatever happens is going to happen, whether you take the long road or the short road. You're going to get to I believe like you'll get to the same destination, right? So, but I'm like continuing, I'm just trying to do the right thing. I'm going to a different department at my job. I'm, reinforcing and, building new relationships with, new people, or, people that I already know, in that kind of sense. Just trying to live like a healthier life all in general. And then, those kind of things, the girlfriend and the wife and the kids, everything like that, and marriage, those will come when they're supposed to, in my head.
Yeah, I think you said that really eloquently. It's like a lot of us are trying to plan so far ahead. I think especially us mid-20s, because we feel like we're in this weird limbo. But it's like you said, like you're going to get there regardless, whether you take this crazy path or like this shorter path. So like, why don't you just kind of live in
just
the
control
moment?
Control what you can control. I think at one point in this past year, I was dead set. Like, I'm moving to Philly. I'm picking up my crap and I'm just going to move to Philly. And I got there. I loved it. I had a great time. Granted, it was with, one of my best friends, Connor. But I got back from that trip and I was actually on another plane to Seattle. And I thought to myself, I was like, are you doing this like truly because you want to do this? Or are you just trying to, like you're saying, like run away from your problems? And in that moment, I realized that I didn't want to do it anymore, because it was not for the right reasons. Like, if I'm going to do something, I want it to be genuinely because I know that it is a healthy decision and it's going to help like my life in some sort of positive way. But at that point in time, I mean, hell, we even looked at apartments. We went to a really nice ass apartment. I was like, that's it, I'm moving. No, but I didn't, like, why put myself in more like financial burden and move to a completely different, side of the country that I really had no really true ties to, except that, one of my best friends lives there. You know what I mean? So I feel like I've had a lot of those in the past year where I was like, do I really want to do this? Or am I just trying to do this to just cause, you know what I mean? So, but I feel like that just goes back to being like unapologetically yourself, right? Just at, whether it's right there in the moment or, a week, month, and down the line, like just do what makes you happy at the end of the day. What's going to be the most fun for you. Like, don't worry about what other people think or that kind of thing, and just go for it.
Well, to wrap this up, I think I'm going to start asking all my guests this, but what is one thing you would want to just say to the world, whether it's people your age, people younger than us in college or high school, but just let's one piece of advice, I guess, you wish you would have known that you'd like to bestow onto the world so that they don't have to go through maybe something you went through or you just think is great information for people to know about.
I think it's not getting too caught up. I think it's healthy in terms of like healthy competition and being able to like kind of see where someone else's life is and see where your life is. But at the end of the day, like don't compare yourself to other people, whether it's relationships, career, financially, anything on that nature, you know, because everyone goes at their own pace with those kind of things. So I think that comparison is the what's the, I don't think this is even the right saying, but
No, it
I
is. I
think
was gonna say it's like comparison is the greatest thief of joy or something
yeah,
like that.
thief of joy or something like that. Yeah, but I think for me, and you know, take it from me in terms of, you know, I compare myself every day to, you know, someone, and that's just not how, that's not a way to live, because at the end of the day, like there's only one life you live. It's not anyone else's, it's yours. So you have to live it the way you want to live it, and everything else, it's gonna happen when it happens.
Drop the mic. I don't know what else to say. It's like we got Buddha over here or something, just
Is
spitting
it
out
well because I'm
facts.
Asian or?
I mean, I wasn't gonna go there, but if you said it, then I think that's fine. But yes, thank you for coming on. I feel like I always learn so much about you every time we speak, even though we don't see each other on like a super regular basis, with you living in Tucson and me literally never in a single place for that long. I feel
Yeah,
like
you gotta have a tracker on you or something. You know, you gotta be one of those people on Instagram that do like the pin drop in like the city that you're currently in.
I feel like people just think I'm so wild. Like someone said to me the other day, they're like, "You're always like on a vacation," or like, "You're always doing." I'm like, I'm really not though. I feel like I'm always just doing a lot of different things, but I'm not like, in Bali one week and then like Paris the next. But I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that's been me the past week. No one knows where I am, you know. So
It's kind of fun that way. It's kind of more mysterious. It's like, let me just live my life.
yeah, just live your authentic life. Hey, this is Shayna Goldberg. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Woo!